Heroes, gather tribute and earn my favor.
Do it!
Oh my god!
Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit!
Oh, the new Heroes logo. That was cool. All right, and welcome to the Gankbush podcast. I'm your host, Fringe Average. For those of you listening for the first time, we are the only explicit Heroes of the Storm podcast where all the different co-hosts represent different play levels. We have someone as low as a silver type player all the way up to a master level player. We bring you the latest HOTS news and discuss the latest tips and strategies so that you can become a better player. So after 2 weeks off, with Bacon moving, we are back live, and the irony is that Bacon can't talk.
Hey guys,
Okay.
I've been sick. I've had a flu or some kind of really bad cold, and my voice is still shot. I sound like a fucking smoker.
You should get some bamboo. Pandas love
Yeah, I'm gonna keep my talking to a minimum, but I had to be here.
it. All right.
Nice. You
All right,
sound
so-
amazing.
It sounds like you could sort of, have a cigarette at your throat and just kind of like smoke it that way.
I've been smoking
yeah.
for 30 years. You shouldn't do it.
What, like the people with the hole in their throat and they're still smoking through it?
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. So we have Tara Baron, who is a silver type player here. We have Scott, who is a master level player, and obviously Bacon is a master level player. We are joined by the owner, the owner. Is that right?
So technically, I'm the owner of the Octalysis group and the main sponsor for Team Octalysis.
Okay. We have the main sponsor of Team Octalysis, and that is Yukai Chou. He's calling in from his palatial state somewhere in the Bay Area. Thank you for lowering your standards and joining us this week.
I love it.
So tell tell the people a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, and
All right, so I have a pretty unique story. So when I was in 11th grade, I rarely say that because I don't want to reveal my age in the other like work world. But in 11th grade, 2003, I was a super heavy gamer, played a lot of Diablo 2, spent over 1,000 hours on it, and I quit playing because my friends stopped. And then I was just like, whoa, I just wasted so many hours of my time, and in real life, I didn't get anywhere. So I thought about, okay, how can I make gaming more productive, more meaningful? So I actually, at the time, I thought two paths. One was gamification, which is what I was doing right now, how to make boring but important things more fun and engaging. The other one was the esports stuff, industry, and at the time there wasn't a real industry, right? There's South Korea stuff. It's like, imagine if people could play games as their career and their ecosystem of advertisement about people doing shows and hosts and coaching and all that stuff. Then that is the career, and that's just like traditional sport. That'd be great. So I had a path to choose, and I went up choosing gamification and wrote a book, became a pioneer in that industry, and now have this relatively large consulting company and education platform. But then I've always loved playing HOTS, and after so many years, I'm like, hey, I play HOTS. I went from being a silver player to a diamond player, and I watch the esports. I watch the game. I'm so passionate about it. It's like, hey, maybe now is the time where, because I became more established in the gamification stuff, I can go back and take the path I never took, and think more into the esports aspect. So as a result, I became a sponsor for Team Octalysis, which was before known as Team 12 or Roll20. That's a bit of my background.
So why come into HOTS specifically?
I think I just end up playing a lot. I enjoy the game, and I think this is actually a trend where I feel like HOTS is the MOBA where more adults are playing, and it's because a lot of adults grew up playing Blizzard games, right? So they grew up playing Blizzard games, played on WoW, Diablo, StarCraft, or even Warcraft, and then at one point they kind of stopped playing some games or other stuff, or very casual games. And then HOTS came out, and it's like, oh, I get to play as Diablo or Kerrigan or these characters that I can only fight against or admire, whatnot. And I think that sentimental nostalgia brought people to HOTS. And I think I was in a similar way. I love Blizzard games, came to HOTS, and I just started playing it. And it was a lot of fun. I think a lot of design. See, a lot of people talk about, oh, it's more dumbed down compared to the other MOBAs. You know, there's no item system, which means it's easier. And there's a lot less strategy or choices. But a lot of people don't even think about, oh, there's actually 2 heroics in HOTS, right? Whereas all the other ones, every character has 1 heroic. So there's dynamic and strategy choices. There's the aggressive one, and then there's the healing one, whatever that is. And also because the talent system is custom to the player. So you could have like, oh, when you wall ride, something cool happens, right? You can't have this in the item system, other MOBAs. So I just feel like there's so much more you can do with this system. The dynamics. I love having different maps. Actually at the beginning, I really love the conversations between the characters. Those little things that make an experience fun. You know, it's like, oh, like what would Thrall say to Kerrigan? You know, stuff like that. Especially when they're from different worlds, but they find something common and they say something unique to each other. Those little things made me enjoy the game, but I played it casually until my obsessive personality made me play it very seriously. So I think HOTS just ends up being the game I fell in love with.
So why sponsor? Why become a sponsor now? Like, is it because of the team that was available, or was it just like you felt this was the time to jump into HOTS? Or
I think the timing is due to probably growth and success in my other endeavors. So I feel like I could finally kind of afford to do that, look into even consider the cost it would take to do it. And like a lot of people question, like, is this the best business decision? Am I going to make the money back, etc.? I don't know. It's possible. We'll see. It's not the most targeted demographic for my other companies. But I just want to do it. It was be fun. So I want to be so I made sure I got to a point where even if it didn't really have a strong return on the investment, I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. And, you know, the money we spent just from the experience alone was worth it. And so I think that timing was there. And I think previously I had some conversations with the CF Roll 20. I understand a bit of the cost structure. I actually was first it's also because there was another team in Europe who was sending on their Twitter, they're still looking for sponsors. So then I reached out to them, say, hey, let's discuss if it will work out or not, et cetera, et cetera. That didn't work out. It fell through. But then I became more interested. I started reaching out to more teams, and Team 12 ended up having the most on top of things manager, who just followed up well. He coordinated things well. He just made me feel like very comfortable with moving in. And so I'd say a lot of the reason why it happened was because Team Octalysis manager, Yid Boss, really was on top of stuff.
Nice.
And yeah. And if Tower Baron and Scott, if you have any questions, just feel free to jump in too.
I have one.
Yeah.
What's your income?
What's my what?
Nothing. Never mind.
It's hard to make a joke when your voice is all scratched up.
Yeah. I asked you what your income was, but obviously it didn't go through.
My income. Is that a serious question? Can I answer that?
Please don't answer.
And please give us your social security number too. That's great.
First pet
I'm
dog.
a pretty transparent person, so I tend to answer things when I can.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's just sometimes it's not people don't feel happy when I share some stuff like that.
Gunhats in chat asks, "What's your rank?" He's actually diamond. Are you diamond this season as well? How long have you been diamond for?
Is that a question for me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I've been diamond for 2 or 3 seasons. So again, I started at silver, and I think I started silver, and then the next season I ended up at gold, and I got placed back to silver, and I worked my way back to gold, and I placed back to silver. Those placement matches, I hate them. And then I worked myself to platinum, and then I got a placement back to gold, and then I just kind of did the grind. But I think what really inspired me was when I saw Chou did his bronze to GM challenge. So he created a total new account, got himself to bronze like 4 or 5, and then in 2 weeks he got himself back to Grandmaster. And when I saw that, I'm like, okay, there's no excuse. If you played as good as him or just much better, you can't be stuck at a rank. You just play well and you'll get there. So that I think that really motivated me to focus on improving my play, watching some replays, and start realizing, okay, if I stop making these mistakes, we'll do much better.
Who's your carry
I mean,
up to? Who'd you carry? Like, who's your main guy?
Your
Bala?
story is like what we try to target, right? Guys around the silver gold level, and then eventually make it up to Diamond Master. That's like the success stories that we're trying to find.
Yeah.
But it's hard.
What I would hope our co-host would eventually do, but I mean,
2 3
years
I
in,
got that.
Wait.
still not there.
The first thing is my carry is Kerrigan, and I'll go into that. I'd love to go into details on that later. But the other thing is, I talk about three seasons in Diamond, but there are seasons where like 1 or 2 of them, it's like I did my placement, I did 9 games or something, and I'm like, oh, this sucks. And I just decided not to do my 10th game, and I just play QM for the whole season. And I like that more because I become easily obsessed with grinding the rankings, the HL stuff. And so it really distracted from my real work. So I feel like because of this lame reason, I stopped grinding. I just play QMs for fun. I can play heroes I just enjoy, as opposed to my main like 3 or 4 heroes that I just carry with, if I carry. And then I can focus on work when I have to. So yeah, I kind of, it was because I didn't want to look like a loser per se, like when I see my placement after the placement. But 2, it's because of my neocortex, my logical brain says I should probably not be sucked into this yo-yo game again.
It's the same with me too. I'm at Master 0 points right now, and I don't want to hit Hero League just in case.
Yeah, but, I'm sure a lot of people, when they click the HL, the Heroes League tab, they'll see that demotion match thing glowing in front of them, and they're like, yeah. Maybe later.
If you could distill your climb, your success, into a couple points, what would they be? Like from silver to gold to platinum, and so on.
It's very interesting because I feel like in silver to gold, you have to play, assuming you have better knowledge than your teammates are good, which is not, a lot of people think, oh, I'm stuck because I have terrible teammates, but they're actually in the same way, they just don't realize it. And again, a lot of these things are fixable, very easily fixable, like big mistakes, just fixable. You just have to know what they are.
Like what? Give us an example. One example. What's like one of the biggest mistakes? Yeah.
The biggest mistakes is
Bacon always tells us like mini-map awareness.
Okay, so this is a big mistake. Yeah, mini-map is the big thing. I think from like silver to platinum, it's how good is your map awareness, mini-map awareness. That's a huge thing. After that, and again, I'm not far beyond that. I feel like a lot of it's even like cooldown awareness, like whose cooldown is used. Like for instance, when I was a Kerrigan, and let's say a Jaina is laning on top, and I'm just soloing and I'm going up. Again, this is all lower league, so it's not like, why is Jaina by herself on top? So I would go up, right, and I would quickly just Q her, jump on her, and fight. But then I learned like, oh, wait a second, cooldowns matter. So she's obviously going to clear the wave with her big cooldowns, right? Obviously. So I waited in the bush. She did her big cooldown. She did her big blizzard. All right, now I jump in. Now she has nothing on me, right? Just waiting that 2 seconds makes a huge difference. So mini-map and cooldowns. And the other thing is dying. I think lower ranks, what happens because we're used to playing games like Diablo or like the PvE games where you're used to charging in to a bunch of enemies, right, and killing everyone. And so I think lower ranks like, oh, there's 3 of them. Let's charge. I still have my heroic up. And of course that doesn't work very well. or oh, my teammates are dying. And let me charge in and save them. And your teammates are like 1 health, they're running away, and you jump into 3 enemies trying to save your 2 dying teammates, and then you die also. And so it's I feel like in low ranks, be very fearful of your own life. Actually, is very good play usually. The other tip is play heroes that are, again, assuming you have superior knowledge or superior play. Play heroes that do not depend on others. So like I love Kerrigan, right? But I remember when I was playing silver and gold, I struggled a lot with Kerrigan because she really depends on her teammates to work well. Like she needs the tank, because she only has a jump in, she doesn't have a jump out usually. And so if she jumps in and they all die, then it's great. But if they don't die, you're dead. So it requires like the tank coming into initiating and the healer and all that stuff. If you jump in and no one follows up after you, which means again, you should let the tank. The lesson I learned later on is let the tank initiate and then I jump in. Adrenaline is bad. And so the tank jumps. But if you jump in and nothing happens, then you're dead, right? So a lot of heroes depend on other characters, teammates to coordinate for you to do well. So I remember in the earlier from silver to plat, or maybe silver to gold, is to choose heroes that are independently strong. Like Meriden, his just you don't really need to care about other people. Just jump in, you hit them, you're almost dead. You jump out, you heal, you jump in again, you hit them, and of course you distract them, right? You're playing a good tank, so if your team, like most even weak players, they know how to right click on an opponent, right, and put spells on them. So if you're the tank, you're just dancing in the enemies, then your teammates are doing their jobs. And so I played a lot more bruisers, so heroes that are independently good. And Meriden, if you do his DPS combos right, you can actually do a lot of damage and even solo a fight. So I think people are really like their. This is not to say everyone should play Gazlowe, by the way. That's not saying that. Because I know Gazlowe is very independent of others, but it's like you want to be in the team. Team fights are really important, but it's to play heroes that don't rely on other people to be good to thrive. That's it.
I bet you were the guy that said if your teammate first picks Gazlowe on a map, you're the one who said GG, right? That's you?
No. Okay, it's all. I remind people because people like to bash on each other and what toxicity stuff, right? And my job is to calm that down because, like, I'm sure you guys seen winning matches lose because of that, right? And you throw the game because suddenly you're fighting for no reason, and a lot of times COTS is the way that you can actually turn it around if you're cohesive, you're doing well, because usually the other side gets arrogant and then they start doing solo missions and you can gank them and all that stuff. But I tend to remind people like, hey, I've never seen a team become much better, or I've never seen a player suddenly become better once you call them garbage. Like only one game's thrown because of arguments. And people will still, before they will still say, yeah, he's trash. It's like, yeah, that's true. Like this guy's not going to get better when I say it's trash. Like they know that. Back. Now, the only way they would say that now is because they want to vent, which is hard if they're just angry and pissed off. I also tell them, hey, if they're just typing, like, because usually when you say this guy's trash, this guy will say, no, it's because this was happening. It's because, and start typing. And I fall in that too when someone like really says something that I disagree, that's like I'm playing badly. So I would just have my character stand there and type. Or I was right click a location and whatnot. But then I would remind them, hey, stop typing. When you're typing, you're not looking at the mini map. And most people will agree with that too, right? Most people say, no, I can still play well. I can still focus.
Typing in.
Like, yeah, but it's like, oh yeah, I'm not looking at the mini map, or at least the guy I'm tagging is not looking at the mini map. And so I tried, my work is in motivational psychology, right? And so my job is I think that massively improves your win rate, by the way. Just being able to keep the team positive, keep them focused, and shot call in a way that they can agree on is actually very big too.
So to recap, play a independent character that can do everything. Let the tanks initiate. And do not call your teammates pieces of shit, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, and try to calm people down when they're talking about shit.
Yeah. So actually, one thing I learned from Bacon was like, if you make a mistake in the game, just say it's my fault. And then people usually quenches a lot of the hostility. But we did get a question in chat from Space Monkey. He asks, do you feel that climbing is fun? I feel like most people get hung up on the frustrating experiences. How would you improve that experience of grinding out Hero League?
This is the weird thing because, so after probably higher gold platinum, now when I play Kerrigan, I win quite a bit. I like 66% win rate. And Tyrael, I have a high win rate too, and whatnot. But it's the challenge where if I do progress, it's fun. Like if you actually see progress regularly, like I think the yo-yo is so frustrating, and demotion and then promotion and then demotion and promotion, you're still there like 3 months later. That's very frustrating. But I realized my biggest challenge is I have to choose. If I wanted to play heroes that I like, that I enjoy, I think I'm pretty strong in them. I might lose. So those are heroes might have a 50% win rate or 52 or sometimes 48, but I just enjoy playing them. That's what's in ranks for, right? But you want to bring them onto the real battlefield to see, like, to prove that they're worthwhile. Or you want to play ranked because you don't want to. Because sometimes I feel when I play QM and unranked, I'm wasting my time. Also, I'm not progressing. So, but I want to play my fun characters. But then I do the yo-yo. So literally, I think a lot of strong players give this advice: be really, really strong at 1 or 2 heroes, and like I said, ideally more independent heroes, and then just spam that hero one trick. So when I play Carrion, I just win a lot and I rank up. And I play other characters, I do the yo-yo, I drop back down. I play a lot of Carrion or Tyrael. Like sometimes Tyrael's there is useful, sometimes Mirrodin. Mirrodin is those heroes that I like to play the higher ranks, but my win rate is very normal. It doesn't help rank up. Literally, like, so it depends on if you want to just be creative, have fun, which means usually you want to do QM or unranked, or if you do HL and you really want to grind, then just focus on one hero. Actually, what's been really useful is go to on YouTube, if you watch the Kala coaching videos. I would find that one hero I want to learn, and he'll say like, Silver League Lucio, Diamond League. I start off Silver. I watch him coaching the Silver Lucio, and then I watch him coach the Gold Lucio. So I start to understand the differences the different things you need to learn as you progress and get better, and then you become much better at that one hero. I did that for ETC. I'm still not a strong ETC, but at least I know all the principles to practice the mechanics on.
Yeah. Maybe a change in mindset, because a lot of people look at grinding Hero League as improvement. If I grind, then I improve in terms of rank. But I feel like if you play to improve, then a side effect will be the rank. But a lot of people think I put in 100 games, so I should be X rank by the end of the 100 games. But if you just play 100 games without trying to improve, you get what I mean. I can't talk anymore.
Yeah, if you are practicing an action incorrect 1,000 times, you just got better at doing the wrong thing, right? So it doesn't mean if you do the wrong thing 1,000 times, suddenly it becomes the right thing. So yeah, I used to be a chess coach too, and and we play competitively, and we go on these online chess platforms, and you look at someone's record, they play 27,000 games of chess. And they're like still, you start out as 1,500 in that chess platform, and they're like 1,430. It's like if just playing more makes you a stronger player, then that person should be like off the charts. But no, it's just it's really if you pay attention to your play, you notice your mistakes, and you improve, you reduce those mistakes.
It kind of reminds me of Rubik's Cube, because I'm a speed cuber, and back in like 2004. To 2010, every 2 years, there would be a new generation of faster speed cubers that was a few seconds faster than the previous generation, because the interest went up. So that means also the research into faster methods. So every couple of years, a new method or more, an expansion of the method that's currently used. So people get faster, but the people that are currently using the old method practiced it 1,000 times. So it's really hard to unlearn it and apply the new methods, so they got outdated. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. One of the things when I watch the practice sessions with Team Octalysis is really like chess. So in chess, if you're weaker players make bigger mistakes, like, I just didn't see they can take my queen. I put my queen in danger, right? And they can take advantage. They can punish bigger mistakes, like, I can take your queen. And then as you become stronger and stronger and stronger, you make smaller mistakes. Everyone still makes mistakes, but you make smaller ones, and you can punish them better. So now it's like, I won because you pushed your pawn up, and now your pawn structure is weaker. And so 11 moves later, I can penetrate through that pawn structure. So if you're against a weak player, you have a bad pawn structure. They don't even know what it is. They can't do anything about it. And so it's the same thing when I watch the team Octalysis. Like they would evaluate their games, and they're like, that was a mistake. We didn't get punished, but if we were against a stronger team, we would have been punished right there. We would have lost. So how do we fix this? Same thing. If you're strong, you can punish small mistakes, like even a small, like they're supposed to move up, but they move left, or like a 2 seconds behind on the camp timing. And if you're strong, so you make less of these mistakes, you can punish more of these mistakes. But knowing what these mistakes are is what makes you potentially stronger player. In chess, if you don't understand pawn structures, like you wouldn't know that's a mistake, and you wouldn't know how to punish it, right? You only know, I shouldn't lose my queen. So I think that the knowledge comes into place. That's really helpful.
It's like the NA teams that improve the most are the ones that go to the internationals, and then they get their ass whooped and come back and actually do a lot better.
Yeah,
but
more feedback.
So Tarburn, you used to be a chess teacher or coach?
Yeah, back in college, I did after-school programs. I had like a little chessboard, and you have the little slots you put in. Most of the time with the lower level players is you can kind of force an end game, because a lot of them aren't used to playing end games because they would just hang pieces. So you just kind of trade pieces down and then just win the end game. And a lot of them don't even really have a lot of experience in that area. So you just kind of win the end game, and it all comes down to pawn structure at the end, how the pawns orientate at the end when the minor pieces come off the board, and you can like force wins and stuff. So yeah, it's the same thing.
So I guess the pawns are like the minions in HOTS.
Yeah, you could think of it as sort of like soak, which is something I learned from playing Bush League. Experience soak, something that I'd never really thought of that much, but it's a huge factor, I think, in a lot of the lower level games, because it's not a lot of rotations. There's a lot of missed soak. So it's sort of like that. You're kind of playing like these little smaller improvements, and that helps the whole team because all the experience is shared.
Oh, you know how I talked about adrenaline is bad in playing competitively? That's the thing with soak. Like, everyone likes to start off mid, right? And usually they do start off mid. The reason for that is because the side minions hit each other later, so they can still go and catch the soak. But then when you're fighting, you're like, I have all this adrenaline. It's like, I need to come back and fight. I get the the sippy, and then come back and fight. And I remind my team, hey, look, each wave of minions is like the same EXP as a kill or a death. So you can kill an enemy hero. That's great. That's amazing. But that's the equivalent of if you miss a soak, it's pointless. And your teammate might die because you have 4 center and they have 5. Even if someone dies but you caught the soak, then you're okay. You're still the same. So it's just understand those principles. And sometimes we do play this thing where the enemies they want to do mid, and once they see someone's on the minimap on top, they'll go top 2. So there is that strategy where someone just goes top, hides in the bush. Maybe he casts a spell out of the bush, but he just passively soaks. So the enemy still thinks, we're still doing 5-on-5 mid, when they don't realize that someone is sneakily soaking. Yeah.
So just a random chess question. How good is Magnus Carlsen? No, because I watched the documentary.
Top player, FYI.
I know that. No, that's why I'm asking, because
for everyone else who probably doesn't know chess.
Yeah, sorry.
World champion.
Yeah.
He's been the world champion for
a few years.
5 or 6 years. Yeah, and he's like 25 years old or something. So he's like an extreme prodigy.
Yeah, they call him sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So just randomly, how good is he, do you think? Do you think he's like the best that we've ever seen in our lifetimes?
It's hard to compare like people at the prime against past world champions in their prime. So the top ones in history, Bobby Fischer, Capablanca, actually, he's the 3rd world chess champion. He, in his entire career, he only had 10 lost games recorded. There was a period of 10 years where he only lost 1 game. Oh. And he wasn't playing against weak players. He was playing against 2nd in the world, 3rd in the world, who wants to be world champion. He just doesn't lose. He just is also one of those genius. He never studies chess too. He just plays it intuitively. Tower, you seem to have something to say. So.
Yeah, I'd just say like Capablanca was one of my favorite chess players in the early 1900s. He was really good with the open play as white. I think I liked his play a lot. I think a few openings are named after him. I think.
Yeah.
Off of E4.
Yeah. It's a really Oh, sorry, go.
One thing to note is that even though Capablanca lost less, like Bobby Fischer won more. So Capablanca has more dragging. So everyone has their style. I wrote a college paper on their styles, but Capablanca plays flawlessly, so he doesn't make mistakes. He just takes kind of small advantage at the end game. He wins, but then he draws more if the enemy makes almost zero mistakes and equalize. Bobby Fischer is more aggressive, so he wins more. He loses a little bit more too. So everyone's different, but it is the learning curve is crazy. Just like HOTS, just like anything else. Like there are players that I can just beat them, like they can beat all their friends easily, right? And I can beat them blindfolded. Like they just tell me rook to c3, and I said bishop to f7 check, whatever, and I can beat them. There are people who can beat me blindfolded easily, and there's people who can beat those people blindfolded easily. Like that chain of easily beating someone blindfolded just goes all the way up, and then I think I'm probably 30 degrees removed from that, from that world champion and all that stuff through that.
So they're actually, first of all, that documentary about him is really cool. So everyone should go watch it. But how do you think that applies to HOTS? Because if you watch the meta for Europe, for example, it's way more calculated and slowly methodical, waiting for teams to make mistakes. While in China, for example, we're just going to keep fighting no matter what. Who cares about soaking? Someone's caught out potentially. Let's keep fighting.
That's a bad meta to reference.
I know they did bad. I'm just trying to think of like an extreme where like I'm just trying to talk about, because you either play really methodical, just slowly grind away and chip it away at your opponent, then win that way, or be really aggressive. And is there do you have like a preference?
I will say that I believe NA is weaker, and I study again this kind of stuff. Is I believe because North America has more of an individualism culture. Like people want to be superhero. Like if you look at all the superhero movies come from the US, like the other places are not about one guy like is the hero that saves the whole day, that saves everything. And so we talk about Heroes of the Storm. This is a game where collaboration really matters, teamwork, coming in together. Like if 3 people do the smartest thing, that's failure, right? Compared to 5 people doing the 4th smartest thing, or even potentially a dumb thing. Literally, like if 5 people go boss when they shouldn't, and only one of the enemy, 2 of the enemy goes and challenges that, then of course that doesn't work out for the 2. And so I think in European cultures, it's more like, hey, let's have more of a harmonious, almost socialism environments. It's not about us competing against each other. It's about how we're all together, how we work together. In China, it's interesting because China has this radical, revolutionary culture. Like everyone's hustling, but there's still a mentality like we move as a swarm, right? It's like you follow the leader. That's why recently there's the
Bush meta.
Yeah. You have the Sesame Credit thing, which allows the government to control its people more easily. And the West was like, that's crazy. That's manipulation. That's like a 1984 stuff, dystopian stuff. But the Chinese part was like, yeah, that's no problem. Like we should all follow the leader anyway. So this helps us follow our leader better, and so it's like, as long as you're doing things together cohesively, I think that creates strength in your Heroes of the Storm gameplay. And I think the US, everyone still tries to stand out a bit more. People talk about the KDAs like, oh, I don't want to choose this hero because it might affect my KDA, or I don't like, why would I die unnecessarily to try to save my core if we probably lost? I'm going to lose some of my KDA. It's just, stuff like that is about personal attention, and I think the US culture tends to struggle a bit more about that.
So speaking of that, what types of strategies are you implementing with your current HOTS team to avoid some of the pitfalls that you've described? I mean, do you have a couple coaches, or what are you trying to do on that front?
That's what I was wondering too, how much of your influence in your professional work spills over into your role as the main sponsor for a team in terms of the practices.
I think for me right now, very little, because I've been very sensitive to not be an overbearing new sponsor in the team. Like I'm respecting, like, hey, I'm not as good at the game as you guys. You guys know what you're doing. I'm really like, I'd rather be very passive and giving a lot of freedom and observe and learn, and then see where I can create the most value. as opposed to come and say, all right, now we need to do this type of practice. Now we need to do this, and then feel like, whoa, they're really upset about it. Let me like take a few steps back. My analogy is like, I want to make sure I'm not like the parents in the high school dance party, right? It's like the parents would start dancing and everyone stops dancing and it's awkward. So I just want to make sure that's there. We're of course always exploring. So there's the coach and there's different roles, right? There's coach and / analyst. The analyst usually is the one that looks more at the data, gives them the players the information they need to make a decision. There's a coach that more often than not is about their emotions, making sure they deal with tilt well and stuff like that. And so we've been exploring different people to take up these roles, but again, a lot of this stuff is still our sponsorship is there's still limit to that, so we don't have much to compensate personnel like that. So it's really whoever's passionate about it and they want to just be part of the experience, they do it, and we're still looking for good people on that.
So is something like suppose you did have a coach. Would that be like a coach that theoretically that you would decide should be the coach, or would the team have to approve it? Or you know what I mean, like in basketball or football, there's the management decides who the coach is, and then the team just says, okay, this is the coach. But would it be the other way around potentially?
At this moment, it's really, again, I'm super hands off. I'm super just empowering them. So if they decide they like it, let's do it. Now, keep in mind, it's because whoever the coach would be, it would be a non-paid position, right? Now, if they're saying, hey, we need this coach guy and he needs this much money, then of course I would probably be a big part of that decision. Yeah. Okay. I feel like in coaches, and I mean, if you look at most of the coaches, they're usually ex-players, and I feel like it's. I mean, they're not just ex-players, but they're pro players. They're ex-successful players, and in baseball, because I used to be a scout, like usually the coaches or the best coaches are the ones that were like fringe average major leaguers or never made it to the big leagues type of guys, because they had to work that much harder to get to that point because their skill set wasn't, as elite as like Mike Trout's, for example. And do you think that, like, go back to the individualistic part you mentioned earlier, that could be like a hindrance for the NA region? That it seems like it's more exacerbated in the NA region, that you have to have a pretty long list, a long resume of success before you can even become a coach. I don't think so. I don't think that's a true requirement. I feel like we don't necessarily have that much infrastructure for that anyway. I think it's really about, like, for instance, if we talk about analysts, like the coach / analyst, some people say, well, I'm like the coach, but I mostly gather the information and tell them what to do. And actually, the coaches that we have worked with in the past, and the ones that we are considering, like, none of them are ex-pro players, actually.
Oh, okay. And have your players said, yeah, I really like this person, I really like her, or like her or him, and stuff like that? I think again, okay. I'm not the one that makes the decision or even brings them in, so it's just whoever. Okay. It's I think the manager Yidbos, he the past coach, the way we got him was he was coaching for another team, for the amateur team, and Yidbos just jumped into one of their scrims and heard him coach and was like, I like you, so why don't you coach for us? And so that happened. So it's just based on chance, but the guy doesn't have a strong history, and he's never been a pro player. He's more like a big finance guy, and we enjoyed that. And so it's really who. We don't have a set criteria. It's whoever, like, the team can trust. And the key thing is, these pro players are strong. And if the coach is not a pro, how do you get him to the point where if he says something like, they're not like, oh, well, you're a noob, you don't understand how to play the game, right? You're only a master, right? And so. I can just see a pro player saying this to a coach. You're a noob. What do you do? But so take a step back from everything. This is for everyone. Where did I mean HOTS has been a game now publicly for what, 4 years, right? Give or take.
3.
Where do you think that HOTS is going to go, like in the next 3 to 4 years?
Yeah, I think it highly depends on how much Blizzard invests in it, because I think HOTS is totally overshadowed by the success of Overwatch. So Blizzard's like, wow, Overwatch is so great. Let's dump all our resources in promoting it. And like a lot of the HOTS tournaments, it's not even broadcasted to other games, right? And other places. A lot less cross-promoting. And and I think, again, I think Heroes of the Storm has a lot of advantages. It's easy to pick up, but when it comes to the mobile market, right? League and Dota is already so big that it's hard to move these players in, because when I talk to the like a lot of them play the game, like if you watch the Try Hard for Good campaign where they got top 3 league streamers to play HOTS, and
like Skara, right?
Yeah. They were like, wow, this is really fun, like, and they're like, wow, I can't believe I've been playing another game that plays on one map the entire time for like years and years, just one map. Like this is diverse and fun. So they all said like afterwards, hey, this is fun. Like after this event, I'll probably still play HOTS and stream HOTS, but there's a lot of sunk costs, right? Because first their audience don't want to watch HOTS, they want to watch League, and once you already played League well, you have to memorize like any MOBA, you have to memorize everyone's skill shots, their cooldown, and all that stuff. There's so much invested into it. Like you've built yourself. It's like you already have a PhD in biology, and it's going to get your undergrad in like physics. You know, it's much harder to do that, right? So I feel like it's hard for League and Dota users to just switch to HOTS because of that sunk cost. And so it's a lot of the players are the Blizzard fans that playing Heroes of the Storm. But I feel like I've seen a lot of people who say they switch from League to Heroes of the Storm, and they liked it. And maybe it's a confirmation bias, like I only talk to these people, but I don't think I've ever talked to people who said, I play HOTS and I quit and I moved to League and I have so much fun. And some people go back to League, right? They used to play League, they go into HOTS, they go back to League. I haven't seen someone who HOTS was their first MOBA and they didn't like it, they quit, and they moved to League and they played it more. I haven't seen that. So I feel like the game is still well designed. As you guys know, you've committed quite a bit of your life to HOTS. The game is well designed. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of potential, different maps, different characters, and all these things. I think it's just and I think it's always going to have a passionate community. But whether it blows up or not will depend on, if Blizzard sees as a thing to invest in. Case in point, this I just learned yesterday. World of Warcraft, when Mists of Pandaria was coming out, it had its first ever drop. It dropped from 12 million to like 10 million subscribers to 9 million. Like it was losing like members all the time. And when it launched, Mists of Pandaria is like, oh, this panda stuff, we don't like it. So it dropped like crazy. And it says, but immediately after, like it had some of the best patches ever, like the most richest content, like for the first time in a long time, suddenly members start to grow, like because Blizzard invested into improving. They didn't like, oh, looks like World of Warcraft is going down. It's been that many years, it's been a good run, and people are lost interest. Let's look at World of Warcraft 2. That's what they're doing for Diablo 4, right? So let's look at Diablo 4. They said, no, let's invest in our resources, listen to our player base, make the patches, not even a new expansion, make the patches the most epic possible. And they said that actually the numbers started moving up again. And so I think those, and of course Legion actually really, really tipped the scale. So, and they would do that because World of Warcraft used to make a lot of money for them. So when it's like going down, they're like, hey, we remember it the good old days. It has potential. Let's invest back. Heroes of the Storm, I think it never had this lucrative time for Blizzard. So whether they would want to go back, say, hey, let's invest heavily into it, I'm not sure. I think it will actually depend on people like us. You guys that to create content, make it fun, create a nice community, and maybe people like me where, we're helping a little bit with the ecosystem and community events, stuff like that.
Great content. You've obviously never listened to the show before.
Hey, yeah, it has me in it, so it must be great.
And to speak on what Yuka just said, if you're gonna put your faith in a company, in a gaming company, then Blizzard is one of the few good ones out there. They just had finished their latest expansion, Legion, which was arguably the best expansion that's ever come out in a game that's 14 years old. So Blizzard is actually trying, and they put their heart into their games. And you can obviously tell with the Heroes of the Storm, even though it's missing a lot of content, like features that we're wanting, you know, they are slowly putting them in as they're ready. And they put out shit like this, like they just came out with Alteric Pass. Like, not many gaming companies will continue to invest in their games. Look at fucking Star Wars Battlefront 2. Dog shit pile of a game. Battlefront 1. Dog shit pile of a game, no content. And what happened? As soon as people wanted more Star Wars, they just said, oh, we'll give you more content, but it's a new $60 game, Star Wars Battlefront 2. Like, Blizzard wouldn't do shit like that on us. And,
yeah, we know Blizzard hasn't given up because they keep every 2 weeks they have something kind of radical crazy, right? Like the wrestling theme, right? And it's like they have custom music that's part of it, you know, etc, you know, the confetti, you know, they keep doing something, and you can see they're having fun with it. The team is probably not as large as the other games now, but they're having fun and they're still investing to it, and they're introducing new heroes. And you know, it's easy to think, oh, I just introduced a new hero, right? But it takes like half a year, right, to come up with a hero. But you can't just come up with a hero. You have to think about what is the meta right now, right? Does it break the game? Does it make things how can this hero can this hero be launched in this situation of the game? And so it's like the balancing is hard, because if you launch a hero this month versus 4 months later, you probably launch it differently, because what the game needs at that moment, the balance would be different. And so it's not easy. They're still, I'm not saying they're like slacking off, but I'm just saying from an economic standpoint, you know, they've been putting they're heavily invested in their other games that make more money. And it's just a question of, are they going to come back and say, all right, let's not just take the revenue we get from HOTS and invest them back. Let's actually approve this huge budget to say, let's take it to the next phase of the experience.
Okay. Random question. Have you ever been to BlizzCon?
No, that's actually one of my most frustrating things this year, because another reason why we decided to be a sponsor is I thought we could take our team on a retreat to go to BlizzCon and have more of a backstage experience, see the players, you know, prepare. And we missed the time. Like we were doing the page refreshing and all that stuff, and we couldn't get tickets. So I emailed the Blizzard staff, and they're like, oh, this is the one thing, the hot staff, and they're like, this is the one thing where we're not in control of. It's the central, like, Blizzard overall umbrella that decides where tickets go in each game and whatnot. And they said, we don't have information, we'll let you know later. And it's been like a month and a half. So
wait, the owner of a HGC fucking team can't get tickets? What the fuck?
Well, you have to go if your team makes it to BlizzCon, right?
I don't know. I'll tell you what it is.
What?
It's not certain. So
that's bullshit.
Each player. So obviously the 5 players. I'll first get the tickets right, and each of the 5 players get 1 extra ticket to invite a family member. Now, if a manager wants to go or the coach wants to go, he needs to use one of those 5 family credits, or else he has to, or at this point he has to use the same way to get in. Oh, actually, sorry, my bad. 6. The manager can go in. You get 6 tickets plus 1 each. So the 5 players and whoever. It could be the owner,
get it from one of them. They're 5 nerds who play video games all day. They don't have friends. You can grab one.
Yeah, they have families. You know, they got to tell their parents,
bullshit.
like, look, I'm not just playing games. Look, it's real. Look, there's people here to watch me, right? They got to show that. Yeah. So a team that qualifies will get 12 tickets, and my goal is not to go myself. My goal is to bring my maybe like 5 or 10 people in my company there. And it's kind of frustrating. Like, we're willing to pay the money. It's just they're just sold out.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's kind of like saying like the owner of an NFL team can't go to the Super Bowl. Nah, you can't go.
Well, you can go. You just have to raffle it or lottery it like everyone else.
Yeah.
I did not know that. I just assumed that since you're you're a sponsor that everyone can just go. But
Hey, maybe they'll come back to me and say, "Hey, it's figured out. You get to go."
Yeah.
Blah, 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 maybe. But right now, I'm still in the limbo zone. So it's
Maybe after
and-
this
and-
episode, because we fucking blasted them.
maybe.
They're
Make a clip of
listening.
that.
Maybe.
Make a clip.
Like honestly, this was a major motivation for me to sponsor. So literally for Blizzard, like if I knew I wouldn't make it, I probably would have thought 3 more times if I should do the sponsorship. Yeah, literally, because I still have a relatively difficult job justifying to my company that, hey, look, we're gonna be a cool esports team sponsor, blah blah blah, and I have a business partner, right? So the way I tell him is, hey, if anything, we get to have a really cool retreat, because he really cares about the retreat. He wants to create like an epic experience for our employees. He thinks that's worth a lot, and so I get to build the sponsorship into that, and so we're both happy. So if that doesn't happen, I actually would have a lot harder time justifying to my business partner about this.
Mm-hmm. I feel like you should say that to like the heads of whoever's in charge of the Blizzard stuff. I think if they heard that, they would be more inclined to be amenable, right? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, but that'd be one of those asshole like selfish like, I'm a sponsor, you need to give me what I want, and that's usually not my personality either.
Oh, I know, but like you're asking, I mean, you're willing to pay for the tickets, I don't know, but that's I don't know, that's very funny to me actually. The more I think about it, but so is it possible?
How funny? It's funny to you, and therefore it's very frustrating to me.
Yeah, no. Like, sorry, I didn't mean it like in a bad.
Oh, we're on your side, man. This is bullshit.
Yeah. No, you're laughing about how ridiculous it is, and I'm frustrated about how ridiculous it is.
Yeah, exactly. Like I thought, it's funny. Like I've always thought since we've been doing this show for 2.5 years, I thought by this point, we're actually promoting the game. That I thought maybe we could get an in for BlizzCon. No, I talked to other Blizzard podcasters, and they don't get any special treatment either. And they've been
Unless
doing
you're
it for
Scott Johnson, but
yeah. But anyway, so random quick question.
by the way, it's not a dig on Scott Johnson. He deserves it.
Yes. So random question: is it possible for you to amend the contracts that you have with the players and have one of them come on the show once a month?
It's not impossible, but not it's not preferable. If I was gonna move that type of muscle, I would probably do it for something else, not get them on your show. Unfortunately.
All right, once every 6 months.
You're like, Buds, come on! You have to do the show with the Gangster Squad. I don't wanna.
Yeah.
All right.
Actually, the funny secret. Remember, I talked to another European team about the sponsorship and it didn't work out. That's not the reason why it didn't work out, but I remember it's like, hey, but I'd love to get to play with you guys sometimes. And but although I'm a noob, I'm stuck, but it'd be fun, QM. And they're like, and they joked around. It's like, oh yeah, maybe you should have written the contract that we have to play with you like once a month, play with Yukai Chou once a month. And I laughed, they laughed, but in my mind it's like, okay, they don't want to do it. Whereas this team, I mentioned it, it's like, oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, like the past sponsor like played a lot with the players, and it was enjoyable, and so I felt more welcomed as a player that I can play with them. To be true, actually, I've only played with the coach and the previous coach and the manager. We've all added. I guess the past couple of weeks have been crazy. I haven't played with them, but at least again, I felt really welcomed that I get to play with them. So that's another secret reason why I decided to do this.
So you don't have to answer this question, but did that team begin with a Z in Europe?
That's one of the letters in their names.
Oh,
That's the only team with a Z in their name.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So now that we're on that, it's at the time this one team. When I talked to them, they were like mid-tier, mid-bot tier. But then the week we discussed, or week or two after we discussed, suddenly they did really, really well, and they also made it a bit more difficult to move forward. So
Yeah. Well, that's what happens with success sometimes, I guess.
Yeah.
So, I think it's been about an hour, so I wanted to again thank you for coming on. Thank you for lowering your standards and coming on the show. And we'll have to have you on again because I actually want to talk to you about your book. I actually ordered it already on Amazon, so I'll get it in a couple days and I'll read it when I'm on my vacation. So I'm very curious to see what the book has to say. But so if you have any plugs, please, the floor is yours.
Okay. So if you care about gamification, which is applying, making mundane but important things fun in your life, like I turned my life into a game. That's my turning point in my life. I used to be just a heavy gamer, and then I became a big entrepreneur and all that stuff. And I don't feel like I ever work. I always just have fun playing. Then check out my work, the Octalysis framework. If you just Google gamification framework, you'll probably find me. I have a TED Talk. What you see right here is called Octalysis Prime. It's my most recent project. It's a gamified platform to learn about gamification. So I've always felt a little hypocritical telling people, hey, you want to learn how to make things so like really fun? Read this 500-page book. And because reading can be fun, but a lot of people, that's not the best way. So create an island where you go around, you learn, you watch different videos, unlock new powers based on what videos you learn, and then you catch mysterious geomons and all that stuff. And it is not free. It's because I pay for like a whole team of programmers and product managers, blah 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 blah. But it's priced more like a gym membership. And a lot of people have said they've found better jobs and negotiated better salaries. Their company raised funding by learning through that. And yeah, so it's something. The whole point is to share my entirety of my knowledge to the world, because right now, big companies, they pay $10,000 for a workshop from me, and this is like getting $50 a month. There's actually a power up that you can unlock for loss and avoidance that reduces to $30 a month. So because you want to avoid paying fees, so it's loss and avoidance power ups. Yeah.
That's one of the points in the Octalysis, right?
Yeah. So check it out. I believe in it. I think it changed life. It's what I call gamified mentorship. So if you feel like you can benefit from having a mentor, then that's the place you should check it out.
And follow Team Octalysis on Twitter at Team Octalysis, as well as you can find them at yukaichou.com. And I'm sure if you just do a search, we'll link to your TED Talk as well as your website, as well as Team Octalysis's Octalatai. The Twitter as well in the show notes, as well as on YouTube as well. So please go check them all out.
Yeah, we've been having a big hiatus, but this weekend we're playing again, Team Octalysis, with 2 new members. So I'm very anxious to see how that will happen, about how that will do, and I'm sure you guys just are curious in general. How's the scene gonna change in NA?
What about
and also
sports apparel? Are you gonna have like jerseys or anything that on any sort of website that you buy to support Team Octalysis?
We order them internally. We don't have it for public ordering yet, but I'll talk to our manager about it, see if we can get everyone to Octalysis up.
Can we get one?
We didn't. We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
He just said no.
I know. But
it's not an immediate yes, but it's something to consider. That's
awesome.
the answer. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you do go to BlizzCon, we would love to meet you. At least have a daddy soda. And again, thank you for joining us this week.
All right. Thank you. It's been
And
fun.
we'll go on a quick 5-minute break and be back with the other topics.
Did you say almost commercial break?
Yeah, commercial break. Like we have any fucking commercials.
Sponsored by Octalysis.
Sponsored by Octalysis. All right.
Which ads?
Be back in a couple minutes.
Broke the fever.
Oh my God, we're back. Dun dun dun. Yukai Chow's is gone. We can talk again, all of us. No, but no. In all seriousness, it was really nice having him. He's actually pretty honest. He actually answered every question. So for the definitive interview with Yukai Chow, listen to the Gangbush Squad. But no, we
already listened to it, you idiot.
The audio, actually, for the audio only, I'm doing that at the back end, actually. So I'm editing the audio. It's going to go behind this section. So the audio listener will not know that this was recorded afterward. So, but thank you, Yukai Chow, for lowering your standards and joining us. And we really appreciate it. Hopefully, you did promise to give me a jersey. So you actually didn't. But anyway, hopefully we can get one. But all right, so actually now we're going to go on with the regular show, or with the show. And we're going to do the Bush League recap as well as the Midseason Brawl recap. And then we'll do some drama, apparently. And so for those of you who don't know, the finals occurred on Monday. And if you want to watch it right now, Goonhots, if you go to his Twitch, you can watch the video there and watch the final. But if you don't want any spoilers, dun, 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 stop listening right now. Okay, so anyway, Tower Brand Squared won the finals. At least the Tower Brand did win the finals. So what's funny is that the next morning, Tower Brand called me to congratulate me.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Said that normally when ex-presidents call the new president to congratulate them on their, say congratulations to being the new president. To which I responded, Tower Brand was never president or a former winner anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna say his team was never in first place. They were never the top team.
Well, no, it's just a cordial thing to do if you're competing for a finals to call the other team captain after the finals and congratulate them on the win. So.
But thank you very much, Tower Brand, for the phone call. And I was actually he called me at the trophy shop because I'm at the trophy shop getting some stuff made. And so
what the fuck?
I know he just dropped out that trophy thing with expecting no one to pick up on that.
Anyway,
yeah, what do you need a trophy for?
No. It's the order was put in today. Actually, I approved the mock-up. So yeah. Anyway,
you brought a trophy for yourself. Is that what you're saying?
No. We'll see. That
is like the definition of narcissism. Especially after those terrible power slide mosh pits.
All I'm going to say
to have the gall to buy yourself a trophy.
All I'm going to say is that you're assuming that it's an actual trophy. That's all I'm saying. You're assuming something way more grander than what it probably will become. So, but anyway, so it was actually really good finals. It was a lot of fun. We had some role swaps on my team, and then Tower Brand's team did pretty well in the pre-10 parts of the game. And yeah, I mean, do you have any analysis, Scott, on your thoughts on the Bush League finals?
Blemsey did not play as good as he did the week before. He was the winning factor the week before, and he didn't play as good. He played Anubarak really bad.
Oh, really bad. All right. I thought it was kind of hard playing that second game on Volskaya because we were saying that he had too many things to interrupt. He had to interrupt mosh pit, and he had to interrupt all these other ults, and it was very difficult. He said pressure-wise to deal with that.
Well, it's not that. It's the enemy team pushing like 3 or 4 people, and there's only one, or he's either by himself or with one other person. He's like burrowing into the other team. Like you can't do that ever if you want to be successful with Anubarak.
But so Tower, what are your thoughts on the finals?
So I think we actually did get the team comps and compositions and picks that we wanted. Even the maps we were okay with. Even we knew you were going to take us to Praxis, and we were thinking we could have Blemsey against Unicorn in the top lane, but then that's more of a strategy of losing slowly So they put me on the solo lane, and then we were planning to win bot hard, which we kind of did in the beginning, and that allowed up like rotations from Greymane and everyone else to like kind of like win bottom, and then hopefully we're hoping to steamroll and snowball the game after our blow up comp with Varian. But the turning point in that game on Braxis was that after we got the kill on Thrall bot, I think around level 15 or so, we got the kill and we went up top, and then it was a 5v4, and they didn't have Zunicorn in that 4, and we ended up getting like Morales killed, and then that was the turning point in the game. We had a 5v4 and just couldn't get any picks, and you guys ended up picking us, picking up Morales. So that was pretty huge. I think we had an advantage. We just blew that. I think before that we were just kind of still winning the game, or at least it was even. Second game, the same story. I was kind of upset with one of the calls. So the way we had it was that EBS graphic was going to be the macro shot caller, and Blemsy was going to be the like the target as the tank, like who to focus, like the team fight shot caller. So we had a team fight. It was back in this video you saw where Blemsy was in the Triglav and EBS calls back or disengage. And then I go back to go soak top. Everyone's heading back, and then he charges back in because he thinks he sees a kill on Junkrat. I was kind of upset by that because I said very clearly that EBS is going to be the macro shot caller. And then there was actually a little bit of a arguing amongst the team, like who should have been there, or like why'd you go in? That kind of, I think, didn't go well for the rest of the game too, with a little bit of tilt factor. I think EBS got a little bit tilted because no one kind of respected his call. So that's
Why did you pass up the map pick twice?
Well, we wanted to have 3 picks in before the second ban because we knew that they knew most of our picks, so we wanted to get as many of our picks in before the second ban.
I think, well, that is important. It's nowhere near as important as picking a map where Zunicorn's not going to dominate you guys.
Well, I mean, I think the Volskaya pick was actually worked out for us because they didn't have Zunicorn in the solo lane. I actually kind of won that lane hard.
That's true.
Against Thrall, and I know it's whoever rotated. And I think
you don't win anything winning the solo lane on Volskaya.
Yeah, but it's still suited to our strengths.
Did you make any rotations off of winning that solo lane to get big kills elsewhere? Where was your impact?
Well, I mean, we did get a lot of the items, and we were playing for point control. I mean, we did get control of the Triglav a few times early on, and we just couldn't convert that into a keep. I think we got bottom keep wall, but we just couldn't push at the same, like on the same page. And then we got mixed up with the calls, like on that last Triglav, and that kind of thing tilted EBS, and I guess a little bit internal arguing. Like even Blemsy was like, "We gotta stop arguing," like over comms. So that was pretty big.
My team didn't argue once, even in the first game when Super Dave died 3 times in the first 7 minutes. We just said, just be more by the tower, and then, or be more by our towers, and it'll be fine. So, but we didn't argue once. So,
but I feel we had a strong showing. We accomplished what we wanted to in the team composition. I feel we did pretty good on the maps as well. Volskaya and Braxis. It's not like we got wiped. I'm actually pretty proud that I'm the only one who laned against Unicorn and then didn't get butt raped. I think everyone else who played Braxis, I think Schizo, Lord Boo, whoever else they picked, like they all got butt raped pretty bad.
Yeah, no, that is true.
Hey.
Zuni did say yes.
I tied with him.
Yeah, see, Bacon did pretty good one game.
All right.
I think.
That's the only game I played solo though.
You know what I actually had? I had, when I picked New York, I had that solo lane guide open from Ryoma, GG. I had it open. I was expecting him to go Sonya, Sonya or Malthael actually. So I had it up. So I was looking at the strat of how to counter whoever he picks. So I was like, okay, Thrall, hide in the bush, bait out the chain lightning, and then land the W. So that was kind of like the strat there.
Yeah, but that is true. Zuni did say after, or during the game or after game one, that Tower Baron's solo lighting was much better. So
I just have one comment because Goonhots in the VOD said that he didn't like my level 1 pick of Fealty unto Death. Well, I think definitely you don't go consume Vitality of the Q1. And Osane Renewal assumes you get globes. And I wasn't banking on getting top globe from Zunicorn. I was expecting to lose a little bit of the lane. So Fealty was the safest play, in my opinion.
And yep. And again, I guess I think I already on the post game interview I already thanked my team, but I'll do it again on the show. As my team, there's no real ego. I mean, people have said that my team was overly stacked, and it's possible. But when the teams were created, it was a master player, a platinum, a gold, and 2 silvers. So I don't, for that, for people to think that like, oh, it's just,
What other team had a master player? Bacon came in mid-season.
That's an open.
That was
that's
it, right?
That's an open. See, that's a thing. So, for example, Tower Baron's team has at the time of the roster construction, Tower Baron's team had 2 diamonds.
They had 1 diamond and 1 platinum.
Yeah, that's what I was told.
EBS. He placed like before the week 1, and he was in Diamond 5.
That's in Team League.
All right,
yeah,
fine.
he was plat. He was always our plat player.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, all right, fine. He's a fringe. He's like
there's
a
no
flat
denying there were some imbalances in the team, but we can't. That was inevitable with the type of league where we're trying to run.
I don't want anyone to bring up this whole,
unless we had 4 complete, like the top 4 players of the team were the same exact skill level going into the 4 teams. It's how are you gonna balance it? It's impossible.
Yeah.
Well, all I said was if you got the best player on the team on that team, they should have the worst player on that team as well.
It did. They had fringe.
No, but the thing is that like I said, I don't want to go down this road again, but we didn't know who the worst player was. All we had was a survey that people said what they thought their rank was, and me and Daz both saw silver for 5 or 4 people. So we were like, I don't know. None of us knew. We don't have access to MMR data. So it was kind of like a shot in the dark. But anyway, back to the things that, again.
And to that, I'd also say, when I joined the team, that shit was on fire, yo.
Till the last game.
Except for the last game. That game was like a...
I'll take that one. I'll take that one. I mean, that was those were my decisions that made us lose.
Yeah, I just like to say one more thing about please don't ban Diablo, my team. Who expected us to get second place? I'm pretty proud of the team for getting second place.
I kind of
playing very strong finals, I think.
Well, I kind of thought that when Bacon wasn't going to play, but but it's okay. But anyway, so a recap of the awards again. Most improved player in the season was San. Again, this is all voted by everyone, by the community and people in Bush League. Most consistent was Zuni. Best healer was Leviathan. Best tank was EBS Graphic. Best assassin was Super Dave, and the MVP was Zunicorn or Zuni. So overall, it was a really good season, and I wanted to thank everyone who played, everyone who casted, especially Soken and Goonhots for taking the time out of their days and casting probably half the games. So that was really cool. It was definitely, it worked out way better than I thought it would. And I'll say it again, the real MVP of Bush League was Daz from the formerly of the Nexus Trolls podcast, and who is now just part of the Trolls Network, for getting this all started. So he's the one, I had the idea for doing a chair league team, and then eventually when chair league went under, I guess I forget what the timeline was for everything, but the idea was to do a community league, and the thing was that I didn't want to start it until people would show up, consistently. And Daz said, no, we should just start one up and people will, he said basically if you build it, they will come. So he took it upon himself to start it, essentially. And he went and created the website, bushleague.trolls.gg.com. Oh, no, sorry. bushleague.trolls.gg. And did all that on his own. And he also got the casters and dealt with, like, if a caster couldn't show up, he went ahead and spent, his time getting that all set up. So without Daz, there's no season of Bush League this season. So again, the real MVP is Daz. And so for those of you who would want to thank Daz, please go to either give cheers to the trolls when they're doing their live shows on Twitch, either one, and or support them on Patreon as well, if you want to show your appreciation to Daz and the Nexus Trolls for doing all this for us. So thank you very much. But it was a really good year again, and we'll and just I guess just to say one thing about my team is that we never really had any arguments. I mean, especially when we were playing, even when we were losing, we didn't have arguments. I mean, there may have been like a minute, a fight or two where we got mad, but just I think I think my team probably had the most or the least amount of conflict in it. And I think that's something, if there is a season 2, then that's something to be mindful of in the future. So, and also lastly, and also thank you to Goonhots, Hero Physio, and Bacon for doing replays. If you watched all the replays, there were probably 10 to 15 hours of master/HCC level levels of coaching that was provided to everyone for free if you wanted to partake in it. And the idea for Bush League, at least from my point of view, is always to get better. And there have been players who played who got better. And if you want, like True Fu, Stan, Tower Baron, Leviathan, I can't even name them all of them, but they all dramatically improved. And that to me, that's the best thing, is that I see people got better, and and now that they're better, yeah.
Well, you were talking about lack of drama in your team. I would also say that was the same for FTBRG. The biggest issue when I got into the team was a lack of focus, and luckily I was in a position. I'm new to the team. I'm bossy as hell normally, and I'm also the best player on the team. So I was in a position to kind of guide and recognize what their faults were, and just kind of try to mold them into better players. And they were very receptive to that. So I'm thankful that they actually listened. It was unfortunate that I wasn't able to play in the last couple of weeks because those habits, if you're not constantly reinforced and it's not like in your muscle memory, sometimes it slips. And we saw that in the round of 4 loss against Tower Baron's team, right? Was it Tower Baron's team?
Yes.
Yeah. That some of those little mistakes started showing their head again. And it was kind of the reason why they lost those matches. But even though they lost in that way, I'm very proud of the guys for taking the criticism, because I was very straightforward and even sometimes harsh with my criticisms, but they took that and actually worked on it. And you can kind of see throughout the month or month and a half that I was with the team, sorry, my voice, that there was significant improvement.
Yeah. So, I think I guess if there's a season 2, if someone is better than you, just, they're better than you. You have to accept that and just, stop talking and just maybe listen sometimes. So, but, and again, a big thank you is, thank you to everyone who played. That's the most important thing. So, Bush League doesn't exist or happen without you guys. So, yes, Scott.
Oh, I was just laughing at that because I've been telling you to work on auto attacking and stutter stepping for 2 years, and that advice still goes unheeded.
Well, not everyone can, not when you're a teacher or whatever, not everyone is going to follow through on stuff, and then you have to be okay with that. So
I think
spend
Fringe
5 minutes a day in try mode. I'm sure you can do it after a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not the best at it, but I can still kind of do it.
But again, so I guess that's it about is there anything else?
I mean, proper stutter stepping is an easy ticket from silver to gold. Just saying. It's
Certain
not
characters,
much impact.
All right. Well, anything else on Bush League at all, or?
No.
All right.
Thank you, Daz. Thank you, Goonhots. Thank you, everyone.
I thought it was really funny when Goonhot says like he's sick of casting Lily games. Because if there's another effing Lily game, I'm gonna pull my hair out.
It's a noob league. You go for noob heroes. I mean, he said at the beginning of that finals, he's like, there is no Genji, there is no Tracer, and I think in all of the games played, like nobody chose those.
We played Tracer in we played Tracer in the semi.
Yeah.
We played Tracer in the finals. What do you want?
You just said Genji. I threw in the Tracer there.
Well,
it's more ice cap.
I actually thought Tower Brand's team would go Genji because I know EBS has been playing it, but
we had him playing Genji, but we thought he'd
play it. You got to be good at it to bust it out.
Well, you have to have sustained damage, but yeah.
All right, so let's go to the midseason brawl recap. So the best finals of all time with Gen G and Dignitas.
It's gotta be up there.
I think so. The 6th game where they came back on Towers of Doom was crazy. We had that team wipe, and then they got all the bell towers, including the one that they had taken on their side, and then capped the altar and held off with the defense. What was it, like 5-25 or something? And after that team wipe, they just won. That was one of the biggest comebacks I've ever seen. That was insane. And to say it, like to deny Gen G like the win too, that made it even more impactful.
Yeah.
That one pick on Garrosh, and that just said it all. Like snowballing from there.
Yeah. So is that is this the best NA's looked in the last 2 years?
Yeah.
I say yes.
It's the best they've looked since last year.
They were shitty last year.
Were they? Yeah, I know they were shitty last year, but I'm not sure about 2 years ago. Yeah, probably because BlizzCon they won 2015.
Yeah,
and then they
that doesn't really count though. Let's be real.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So all of 2016 and 2017 they were bad, right?
Yeah. But I'm very curious to see how NA looks at BlizzCon. I'm very curious to see if Team Octalysis can make it to the BlizzCon or not.
They'll make it. There's 3 teams going.
We shit on NA for the longest time on this podcast, but here at Gang Push, we recognize when progress happens, and we respect that shit. And NA has been progressing solidly for the past year. So we got to give him props where it's due. And, I mean, shit. Who would have thought that an NA team would knock out Ballistics multiple times?
Yeah, they had Ballistics
before this tournament.
Yeah, I mean,
that would have been a fucking dream a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't talked shit about NA for a while. I can't even remember. I think since BlizzCon, I haven't said anything about NA.
Some of the teams, we hate him because one of the members on the team is an asshole, but skill wise, I mean, hell yeah.
Yeah, it's no longer an automatic loss against Europe or Korea now, that's good.
Yeah, it's nice to see them being competitive. If only China could step it up.
Yeah. Well,
I don't think that's gonna happen, honestly.
Yeah. I think for HOTS for HUC to get better, they need to have the American version of Gen G. Just dominate for a year, If that happens, then more people in America will get more involved with HEC.
Wasn't the first championship won by Cloud9?
Yeah, but that doesn't count. That doesn't count.
All right.
If an NA team went BlizzCon this year, I mean,
Yeah.
holy shit.
Yeah. So,
they got a long ways to go to even get close to winning BlizzCon.
I don't know. They beat Ballistics, right? Didn't Ballistics win was it Tempest who won?
BlizzCon, if you watch the whole time, they look kind of shitty. People were saying like, "Oh, Ballistics is really the number 2 team in Korea," but they played like a far number 3 in that tournament.
Yeah.
They just did not look polished at all in their gameplay.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. Anything else on the Midseason Brawl?
Yeah,
I feel bad for Dignitas. They always get so close and they always blow it. It's a little bit bad for them. They played really well.
Well, if they were the number 1 seed, they would have won the tournament. So just be the number 1 seed next time. So.
Yeah, gotta play better. I was impressed or really curious at how the meta played out. You know, like for instance, like Hanzo is pretty garbage right now, but it turns out if you're the one of the best players in the world, he's really good.
You're rich.
Yeah. No, the meta at that level is like, it's always good to take ideas from it, but you know, I'm pretty sure there's tons of Hero League games that were lost in the last 5 days because of that Hanzo play, especially at the silver level and gold level.
The biggest trap is Joanna, because she's not even the same hero now that she was at Midseason Brawl, because she had the 25 armor at Midseason Brawl of physical armor, and she doesn't have that now. So she's probably nowhere near as strong as she appeared to be on that at the Midseason Brawl, basically.
I don't know. I think at the lower levels, she's pretty good because there's wave clear, and it's hard to kill her. So and she comes back to life at level 20 if you get the right talent. So,
yeah.
But I will agree with you that she's not nearly as good as, she should not be highly prioritized above platinum like that. So.
Yeah. I was really curious as to there was virtually no Medivh, and he's been really prevalent in a lot of the past tournaments, especially the higher level, because somebody picks Medivh and the people on their team just don't die and they just seem to win eventually, and he was basically nowhere to be found in the tournament.
If he was big, it was with Stitches.
Yeah, I think Dignitas pulled that a few times, the Stitches, Medivh.
Yeah. But, yep. Anything else on the Midseason Brawl?
Did you hear me about that core dive in this game right here? The Sky Temple game? At the very end, that won them the game.
Oh, yeah, the Genji X strike or Swift strikes in. Right?
Oh, yeah. I saw that. Yeah.
What a fucking ballsy call. Like, who makes that kind of call? It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty gutsy.
Where you're just gonna show yourself slowly marching yourself across the mid lane with minions chasing you and having the entire enemy team backing, but you're still gonna fucking go for it. Oh my god.
That was sick though, that last hit.
Yeah, the level 16 Swiss Strike upgrade.
Yeah.
Shadow is the one that actually got the core to 0%.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was really cool. Like I think I saw it live. I was trying to work, but I couldn't because I thought it was 3-1. I'm like, oh, this is over. And then I come back 30 minutes later and they're still playing. And I ended up just watching it and I was like, I saw that holy shit, they're going core. They're going core. I was like, holy shit. I literally said holy shit out loud to myself. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad Rich was able to live up to his hype again.
Yeah. No,
I'd say it's the rest of his team, because a lot of
especially
the team compositions for the enemy team or the team goals was kill Rich, and the way the rest of his team kept him alive was more impressive than the way Rich played to me.
Especially when he was playing Hanzo on the Battlefield of Eternity with the double support.
Yeah, on a shittier support cast, he's got 3 times the amount of deaths that he had in that tournament.
That's true.
Yep. Yeah. Well, anyway, I think it could be a good thing that there's a dominant team like Gen G or MVP Black, as well. But yeah, I'm curious to see how BlizzCon looks. And yeah, anything else? Okay.
Well, it's not that dominant, right? Dignitas took him to Game 6.
Yeah,
Game 7.
I always remember. I always feel like my thoughts on this always go back to baseball, and baseball does really well when the Yankees do well. So because a lot of people hate the Yankees, a lot of people love the Yankees, and I think baseball thrives when the Yankees and or the Red Sox do well. So, like, no one's gonna give a shit when the Royals are good. Like, no one gives a shit. So
yeah, but that's the fan base, and you could say the same thing about Hots of nobody cares about Genji.
I know.
Korean.
That's why I said you need to have an A team like NG be dominant for a year for HCC to get much bigger, I think.
Yeah.
Soccer's only popular in the U.S. when the U.S. makes the World Cup.
Yeah.
Kind of like that.
No, the U.S. doesn't care about soccer. We got better sports.
Yeah. But
Hey,
anyway, so
have you seen Atlanta popping off? Every single home game in Atlanta for the Major League Soccer is like 45,000 attendance. Packed stadium.
The popularity of soccer is growing in the U.S.
Yeah.
But all right, so let's move on to the last topic, and that's the I guess we're going to revisit a topic that was discussed on the last episode, and basically I'll read the quote verbatim that I said, so Bacon doesn't have to. So on the last show, around the hour mark, I suppose, I said basically supports now have become who has the most impactful ultimates and how that impacts your team or the enemy team. And that's what healing has become. And they're all kind of the same when it comes to their healing output. That's what I said. So I guess if I were to rephrase that, was supports provide 1 to 2 things primarily, and usually it's the support. Usually it's the ultimate and something else that they provide. So the reason why I said that comment, and I still think it's. Let me take a step backwards. When I say something like someone buys a car because they want to get from point A to point B, right? Obviously, there's other reasons why someone buys a car, but the whole point was that the idea of what I was trying to say is that primarily, obviously, every support has their own little nuances and stuff like that. But when I made that statement, I said that saying that Rhaegar in my mind had Rhaegar is a cleanse guy plus the ancestral. Uther's a divine shield plus cleanse. Brightwing provides global plus the ultimate that she has the that whatever the other one's called. And
wind.
I still think that like supports the amount of utility to the team is far less, and their criteria for being judged is on 1 to 2 things that they provide. So.
Well, I don't agree with that at all. I mean, I think Stukov, has one of the weaker ultimates, I think, with respect to the other ones, but I think his lurking arm and his constant healing is super strong. And I wouldn't say that's 2 things. Yeah, I wouldn't say that's his ultimate, though. I think his ultimate upgrade is not.
Yeah. But what I think Fringe is trying to say, and I agree with him, is a lot of the healers now have similar healing outputs. So you go and, weigh the 1 or 2 other things that they're good at and, make the best pick off of that. Like before the supports were nerfed, you had different healers that were, a lot better at wave clear and other things. Karazim did a lot more damage than he did now, and he could really dive a lot better with the team than he can now. And the supports were a little bit more, I guess, specified in their roles compared to where they are right now.
I think
And I think
they have
yeah.
to be more impactful now that they're weaker.
I agree. I agree with that. And I think the reason why Deckard Cain was so prevalent in the Midseason Brawl is because I think he's overtuned, or at least on that patch he was overtuned. So that's why he was like the de facto number 2 healer, right? So
Malfurion was the number 1 support.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
I feel
well,
like-
the root-
Yeah, for sure. First
I
pick.
feel like your statement, Ringe, is true, but it becomes less true the higher you go, because those little differences actually add up much more and more and more the higher you go. And especially if you look at HGC levels of play, when Gen G is drafting a hero like Karazim in a blowout comp, no other support in the support roster can help with the type of blow up that Gen G is trying to do besides Karazim, right?
well, yeah, I agree
you kind
with
of
that.
get what
No,
I'm saying, but like,
every healer, like like Uther's the burst healer, right? Like you have Lucio as the slow healer, but heals everyone, right? I understand all that. I'm just saying that the reason why you go, yeah,
I know you're like simplifying into like 2 major categories, but I think if you dug down a little bit deeper, you can further divide those points into more categories. So
Yeah.
ancestral,
No.
it's not just ancestral. It's about timing, who to do it, when to do it. Are you going to replace ancestral with something else? Can you use a storm shield instead of ancestral to get that player alive? Is a cleanse enough to not use ancestral and save it for someone else? And that's just on ancestral alone. And then you got totems. Am I going to use this totem to save somebody? Am I going to use it to body block? And I'm going to use it to catch up so my tank can help peel for this guy? Like, and you can just say, oh, Rhaegar is just the ancestral and totem, bitch. But if you break this down, there's so many layers to supports kit.
Oh no, I recognize all that, and I agree with all
So
that.
I feel like what the listeners had problem with is you simplified it too much. It
Well-
was too much of a blanket simplified statement where we obviously know there, you're a support main yourself mostly. So you obviously realize there's more layers to supports than just 2 things that they bring to the table. But I think you simplify to a fault, and that actually got a couple of the listeners and myself included when I listened to it on the podcast. I was got their panties in a jam. That's what you call it.
Yeah. Well,
Panties in a bunch.
Bunch.
no, the idea of that comment was made because is more probably out of frustration, because now that the healing outputs are basically more or less, I mean, obviously it depends on a character by character basis, but like for the most part, for the top half of the supports, they're all putting out roughly the same healing now, right? So now,
At the end of the game, yes, but moment to moment, there's differences, obviously.
no, I know there's differences. I'm just saying that like, but now though like I'm saying like the way to differentiate between the supports now is primarily based on like 1 to 2 things. That's all I'm saying. Like, when you're comparing to Rhaegar versus Uther, for example, you're thinking about, okay, do I want Divine Shield or do I want the Ancestral? I mean, obviously there's a point and click stun with Uther, and like Lucio does something different. He counters anyway, Genji. But the whole point was that like I just think that now it's just like
Not
they're not as impactful as they once were, and that's not a good thing, I think.
No,
That's
I
all.
think since they're all less impactful, which I agree with, the supports have to be more impactful to actually get valued, because everyone is playing on the same playing field. It's not just I'm worse, it's every support is worse. So for me to carry my team, I need to be a better support than I was 6 months ago.
What does Scott think about all this?
As far as supports not being more impactful, I'd say supports are more impactful now than they were in the past, because you're only playing with one, and you're in a lot of situations going to live or die by how good that person plays. Where In the past with double support, hey, this guy fucked up, but we got a second guy who will cover his ass. So, I mean, I wouldn't say supports are any less impactful than they were previously, but there are some facets of the game where they are almost non-existent, such as wave clear, which supports used to have.
But then again, supports also bring some mechanics into the game that no one else has. So it's a give and take.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you draft the support, because you need a support. Obviously, if you draft a team of 5 and there's no support, 10 out of 10 times say this is a god shit draft. So
Yeah.
obviously they bring something to the table that no one else brings, and you can't have 2 of them either because there's too much negatives that come with double support. So
You bring them because you need the heals.
right.
That's the number one reason. There are plenty of comps that could be successful at team fighting without a support. You don't need a support to win team fights. You need them to heal you up after you win the team fight so that you can do everything. If you win the team fight and everybody's
no, it's not even
30%,
that. You need healing
can't
during
push
team fights.
shit.
What are you talking about?
You can't grab a boss with everybody 30%.
That's
I'm not
why
saying,
assassin games take fucking forever, because after every team fight, everyone backs. And by the
that's
time
what
they
I'm
back
saying.
and come
That's
back
why
to
you need
lane,
a support to heal people up after the team fights already happened.
Well, not even after, during too. Come on.
Yeah, during too.
It's a lot of healing that adds up over the course of a game.
I kind of agree with what Fringe is saying, though, is that when you're kind of, I think in Bush League mode, you're thinking about how the healer or the support's going to synergize with the other characters, and the ultimate is a big factor, whether you're picking Brightwing for the Brightwing bomb, or you're thinking about that Lucio shield to kind of save you all from a dive. That does become a big factor.
I get it.
with cleanse as well.
I get it, because you can kind of do the same thing with every other class. Then you can kind of break it up into, like, compartmentalize everything that they do into small, like, major categories and draft around that. And we kind of do that to a certain extent, because we have double tank, a ranged assistant, and support. Just get a mage, any mage, right? We do that all the time.
Well, they provide burst.
Some of the mages have better wave clearance stuff, like Gul'dan, and there's like these other little factors. But yeah, if in general you're gonna try and pick your comp around one thing, and you're thinking about whether you're a post 10 team or not, varying maybe a pre 10 team snowball. But I think I understand what French is saying. I think playing on Bush League as a team captain, that was a big factor in terms of the seeing what ults kind of synergize together and leaning towards certain supports that had what we're looking for.
Yeah, that's true. Heroic synergy is really important, obviously, and it goes a lot into drafting. But that's 1 second in a 60-second fight or 30-second fight. There's a lot of other things that go into what a support does during that time. So I think we all need to.
But I think what Fringe is saying is that we all kind of expect some baseline number of heals to come out from whatever support we pick. We're picking them for that extra level with their heroics to kind of push the team into the direction whatever they're going for. We don't expect Deckard to only have his Lornado. We expect him to put out a baseline level of healing that's going to be somewhat similar to, say, like a Lily or some other healer. I think that's what Fringe is trying to say.
Let's
right?
just take Deckard.
Yeah.
Just off the top of my head. Base amount of healing. Pre-fight setup with his healing. His R, obviously, no matter what you pick, right? His trait at level 13 that provides burst, right? His root, which is one of the best roots in the game. If you go level 7 Kanai's Cube, he does damage reduction. So it's anti-carry for the enemy team.
Yeah.
So that's like 7 things he does that are all very important that Deckard brings to the table. So it's very. I think it's too simplistic to just say, "Oh, Uther's just divine shield and stun." I think there's too many things that supports can bring.
Well, I'm saying, my point was that like 90%, whatever, allocate a high percentage. The majority of reason why you choose a healer is for 1 to 2 things. There's other things too that they're nice. They're bonuses, right? But I for the most part, you're going Uther in most comps.
I think you're mistaking the bonuses for playmaking potential.
Yeah, okay. I think Bacon's saying there's more depth in those other minor things that you're kind of pushing
I
down.
understand. I understand all those things. That's the thing.
Those those two categories are what you need to play a basic level of support, a passable level of support to fit into whatever draft. What I'm saying is take the other 5 things and then consider how much they can bring and enhance the team, not just meet a basic minimum of, hey, we need a support. Scott, what do you think about that?
Well, I'm gonna go back to most of the healers heal for about the same amount, except for like Uther, who heals way less. So I mean, there's more than 1 or 2 things. There's usually maybe about like 4. You know, like Uther, you could say he's more than just divine shield and stun, but he has burst heals and cleanse. But you know, those are about it for the
And
4
armor.
factors. Yeah, that's
And at
true.
level
And
20,
armor.
he can sacrifice himself to do more burst healing and then come back for a fresh set of cooldowns and do whatever he needs to do again.
That's a bonus, but I'm not playing for 20.
But I'm saying that's also another facet to his gameplay that grows as the game goes on.
Yeah. I mean, like, Malfurion's played because of the roots in the Twilight Dream. Like, I would say...
Well, that's 50-50 on his heroics. I wouldn't say he's going Twilight Dream all the time. Tranquility was picked like half the time on that.
Yeah,
But either one,
but
right?
as far as roots and his heroic and his ability to put out a lot of heals.
Yeah.
Yeah, on everybody.
So, but, I mean... Anyway.
Like, yeah, there's more simplistic supports than others, for sure. Like Lily's an example. All you have to do is hold Q and time your E and R correctly, then voila, you can play a good Lily. But, I mean, you can't just apply that concept to every support. I think that is misguided and a little too simplistic.
Okay. Well, again,
Also,
I said,
you know, Goonhot says in chat, landing that multi-man Moonfire. Yeah, you can... you can break down Malfurion into, he's going to press R and he's going to press Q and W and rinse and repeat throughout the rest of the game. But optimizing his positioning to be in position to get not 1-man Moonfires, but 3-man Moonfires and still be able to make it out safely after doing the healing, properly timing innervates to get maximum cooldown potential. Maybe if there's a mage on your team, like if Kel'Thas used this combo and then you used innervate, think about the cooldown reduction potential that you can have. I actually try to pay attention to this stuff nowadays when I practice Malfurion. And obviously, rotating Qs, that's really hard to do. It's gotten a little bit easier because of the artwork that was just added to Malfurion, but that's a skill in itself. That's kind of unique to Malfurion. Like, there's a lot going on in supports, in my opinion, nowadays.
Yeah, I think it's just very simplified at our lower levels, Bush League level or something.
Maybe in the bronze to silver area, you can break it down to those core things.
Yeah, for sure.
And you would be right. But I feel like the higher you go, you're doing yourself a disservice by treating supports like that.
Yeah.
I never said that they were okay. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Like, all I'm saying is that primarily why you choose a support is for 1 to 2 factors primarily, and the other stuff is like a bonus. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that they can't provide more stuff. I never said that. I'm just saying if you draft Genji, you want Uther for the Divine
And
Shield. That's all.
I agree with you up to a certain level of play. Past that, I think you have to pay attention.
But if you have a Genji on your team, are you going to go Ana? No. You're gonna go. You want the ancestral or you want the divine shield? That's all I'm saying.
It depends on your composition.
I know, but like, I'm just saying, like, if you go Cho'Gall, do you want to go? Who's this? Tyrande?
I mean,
You know, like, I mean,
Uther.
there's
Uther.
anti-
Uther.
Or we played that.
I know. That's why I threw it out there.
Well, that's all I'm saying is that the whole point was that if you go like when you're drafting,
that also applies to all sorts of other different combos that doesn't have to do with supports. There's bad
Yeah,
assassin and tank combos too. Like it's not just
I know.
That's kind of a blanket statement. I think that's a little inaccurate.
Okay, well, all I'm saying is that you draft the support that fits whatever it is you're trying to do. That's all I'm saying. It's like if one healer out healed another, then you would actually have to think about, oh, Rhaegar heals more than Uther, so is that a good trade-off? More healing, for example, theoretically, is there more healing from Rhaegar, or do we really want the divine shield? That's a bigger question. But now if the healing is the same, then it's more like, do you want the ancestral, or do you want that's all I'm saying.
But you can also ask, if Rhaegar does less healing than Lucio, what does Rhaegar provide that Lucio, trades for more healing?
Yeah,
and you can cleanse, auto
Rhaegar has
attack
a
damage,
yeah,
better soft CC,
Mm-hmm.
anti dive, what is ancestral, follow up. I mean, and damage in general.
Some of the healers
And
can
wave
heal
clear.
outside
I
of
mean,
fights too.
There's like a
Some
lot of
healers-
things you can.
Yeah. Being able to heal up outside of team fights too is a thing too. Kerosene, can't really heal up as much outside of fights, so you have to factor that into.
Yeah, and that's why when Gen G picks Karazim, they choose a very aggressive short team fight comp so that the fight doesn't last longer than 20 seconds because Karazim won't be able to catch up with healing. And that those things matter the higher you go. But like I said, I agree with your point. At the very lower levels of play where just simple mechanics wins you the day 10 out of 10 times. But at the higher level you go, these little subtle things that heroes bring to the draft, you have to consider them on top of the very simplistic things they do.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense, but
I think you can break them up
dying
into.
here.
I don't know. I think you can break them up, the supports, into general categories, but then you have to look closer to see which one's actually the best one for you or for the team comp.
Well, yeah, just because you're a support main, you're not going to play every fucking support. Same thing with assassin and tanks. You have your specialties and things that gel well with you. So even if you want to play Kerosene, but you can't play Kerosene, I mean, you're shit out of luck. Yeah, but that's just part of learning the game.
Yep. Honestly, I think we're discussing two different things the entire time. But I don't know. Maybe when your voice is better, we can hash it out again. Because I agree with everything you're saying. That's the thing. And people in Discord think that I don't know those things, which is kind of was very frustrating. But
no. Obvious. I'm sure most of them know that you know, but the statement you put out there was a very simplistic statement without any elaboration. That's hence why we're having this conversation. We know you know, but
I don't know. I still think we're discussing two different things. So
well, before we close out, can you elaborate on what you mean by that?
Like I said, if I say I say people buy cars to get from point A to point B, right? That's what I'm saying about in my original statement is that, those two things that a healer provides, whatever they are, right? That's why you're buying that car. That's why you're selecting that, Now, obviously, there are Jeeps, there are, SUVs, there are, they do something different, but everyone buys a car for the most part to get from point A to point B. So the original statement that I made about supports basically having one to two things is equivalent to a car gets you from point A to point B. And the different types of cars, like SUV or a sports car, are completely different, right? They serve different purposes. One you can drive really fast. One you can drive a tank. One you can, whatever. So my original statement was that, you get supports because of one to two things, essentially. And obviously it depends on an individual support. There's so many supports. But in general, you're choosing one to two things. Like if you with the Rhaegar example, it can gap close, it can do all these things. But if it doesn't have Ancestral, if you replace Ancestral with Nano Boost, then he may not really fit anymore into what you're trying to do, because the highest priority is probably the ultimate or the other thing that they provide. Like what I'm saying is that the weighting. Suppose that Rhaegar provides 8 things that he can do. I would say that in terms of impactfulness, the top 2 represent 80%, 85, 90% of the reason why he's picked. That's all I'm saying.
I agree. It's probably the most important reason why Rhaegar's picked, but I think 85 is a little too high.
Okay.
Maybe half.
Oh, see, okay. That's okay. That's where I disagree.
Yeah, so Fringe is scratching the surface, and people are getting upset that he didn't break out the shovel and dig a little deeper.
That's more or less it. And
Okay.
I think we all agree with each other on that now.
Okay.
Sure.
I mean,
Okay.
Yeah, I
Scott
understand.
summed it up pretty nicely, but
All right. Okay.
I feel like
That's fine.
as much as heroics are important, I think like that's half the hero, and the other half is also all the other things I listed. I think that's just as impactful.
Okay.
Yeah, so
That's
Fringe
fine.
is at 85% value in
And
heroics. and Bacon's
Jiggly
like
needs to calm
50.
down in chat. Oh my god.
Anyway.
Well, it depends on the hero you pick too. Like Stukov's heroics aren't that important. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say they're not important, but his main ability that you pick him for is a silence.
Mhm.
Tracer's heroic is just upgrades of her heroic that she already has.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I mean, some ultimates are more important than others.
Yeah. No. Yeah. But again, like not everything I say is gonna has to be right to everyone. Like that's what a discussion is. Well, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with having different views, and if you think someone's wrong, that's fine. It doesn't have to be a combative thing like it is for some people. So, which is fine. I mean, yeah, it's fine.
I felt like just to put an example out there, I played against an Ariel one game where she destroyed my ass so thoroughly, and just that one Ariel alone, it made me completely change my outlook on Ariel, and that's why I started playing Ariel lately. And that's the impact that supports can have if you actually really, really try to get good with them.
Yeah, no, Ariel, I think she's, I like Ariel. She
She
has
did
a lot of-
things
she
with
has a lot of
Ariel
nuance.
I didn't know were possible,
Yeah.
and my ass is still sore from that day, from that pounding. And whoever you are, that Ariel, I thank you.
Still chafed.
Yeah,
It's that
Oh,
whip.
God.
Use that whip
but,
on you.
it's just like it was the same thing as like Genji getting the 5-man wipe, or ETC getting that 5-man mosh pit twice in a game. This Ariel just showed me, like from the heavens, this fucking new way to play Ariel, or the potential that supports can have. And obviously, if we look at someone like Mary Day, we all know that supports are just more than press R and go. But,
yeah, and I never said that. No one ever. I never said that.
I think.
But
yeah,
if you're
we're
looking
just saying
at the
importance.
support role at its most simplest form, which is what Fringe was doing, then yes, that's what
No.
that statement would be, right?
No,
I mean, that's
no,
that's
the crux is that a healer provides between 6 to 8 things, right? In general, my contention is that the top 2 things, whatever they are, have the most weight, and you just say it only has the top 2. I guess have half the weight. That's all. That's basically what we're saying. That's fine. That's all.
Yeah, Fringe is just saying. It's
You make up
more
your own
important.
mind. Listener at home, make up your own mind. You know,
Yeah.
maybe we're both wrong. I don't know. Like, fuck, I don't give a shit. Like, just make up your mind. Like, I think the top 2 things have the most weight. Bacon doesn't. That's it. Who cares? We're done, right? That's basically what we, that's the takeaway. So
Yeah, the 85-50% thing is, I think, what you guys are talking about in terms of importance.
that's all. Yeah, that's fine. Everyone has opinions. Not the end of the world. Well, for some people it is, I guess. But all right. Anything else?
You guys talk about
French
the
learn
new
to
map?
stutter step.
I don't know. That's not gonna happen.
No, it's not.
Been 2+ years since I mentioned that to him.
All right. So, all right. I guess we're done. All right. So, for those of you at home, I will not be on the show for quite a while. I'm doing a long holiday. So, going to Boise, going to go to Bend, going to go to along the coast. So, I will be doing a holiday in quite a while. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Are you from Europe?
I used to have a lot of Europeans and Australians when I was Airbnb in San Francisco.
Yeah, I can tell. Nobody American says holiday.
Yeah, that's something that you pick up, and when your accent is British, you just get kind of used to it, I guess. So, but yep. So there's gonna be some Fringe free shows for a while. All right, so let's go to Tower Baron.
And that's our show, and we'll see you in the Nexus.
I just had a little bit too much of Hennessy. Just gonna tell you how I feel. Look. You so fucking precious when you smile. Yeah. Hit it from the back and drive you wild. Yeah. Girl, I lose myself up in those eyes. I just had to let you know you're mine.